Tonight, a verdict in the trial for the last of 9 people accused in the death of Saskatoon's Megan Gallagher. The official opposition is calling for a public inquiry into Saskatchewan's 2025 wildfire response. Film crews take over Pheasant Rump Nakota Nation to make a movie.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Friday, October 17th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Hi there, thank you for watching. We begin with what is the conclusion of a terrible journey for a Saskatoon family. The last person of 9 tried in connection to Meghan Gallagher's death has been found guilty. A 12-person jury at Court of King's Bench in Saskatoon returned its verdict Friday afternoon. Roderick Sutherland was found guilty of manslaughter, unlawful confinement, and offering an indignity to human remains after 2 days of deliberations. Meghan Gallagher disappeared in September 2020. 2 years later, her remains were found on the bank of the South Saskatchewan River near the village of St. Louis. 8 other people have been dealt with by the court, including a man who pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison. For more on what happened at Court of King's Bench over the last few days, Dan Zakreski joins me now. Dan, Sutherland was the very last person to stand trial for the death of Meghan Gallagher. Give us a sense of how things went with his trial.
Sure, Sam. You know, in the end, the jury just didn't buy the defense's theory that Roderick Sutherland was in that garage and caught up in a situation that had gotten out of hand. You know, the defense was saying that when he saw Meghan Gallagher tied in that chair and being beaten, he had tried to extricate himself from that situation, and they clearly just didn't buy it. You know, from the beginning, the Crown maintained that Mr. Sutherland may not have been the person that actually killed Meghan Gallagher, but he was in deep from the beginning to the end, and he, you know, warranted the conviction on all 3 counts. One of the things that was really interesting in the trial, though, was in the final arguments, and from the defense lawyer Blaine Bevan at one point spoke to the jury, and he was talking about some of the unsavory aspects of Meghan Gallagher's life. She was in that garage with people who were doing meth, and he really made a point of talking to the jury about, look, folks, you got to remember that whatever happened to Meghan Gallagher in that garage, she did nothing to deserve what went down.
Especially in Saskatchewan, and I think especially with Indigenous people charged with crimes or involved in crime, there are a lot of stereotypes and assumptions that are made. And assumptions that are made about someone who finds himself in a garage with people doing meth and maybe selling them drugs, which really don't have a place in a jury's room, because those assumptions aren't what the law requires. And what the law requires is that they be treated, nobody deserves something bad to happen to them.
Dan, you've had a lot of contact with Meghan's family over the years as this has played out. How are they doing?
Yeah, Sam, you know, the jury deliberated for 2 days, so we had a lot of opportunity to visit in the hallways as they were out. The first thing I noticed right away was they just wanted this to be over. This has been a 5-year journey of them walking down those 8 steps behind me over and over again and talking to the press outside. You know, they also knew when the verdict came down today, because of the way the defense was set up, Mr. Sutherland was facing 3 charges, and the first one was unlawful confinement. And everybody was acknowledging in advance that if he was found guilty or not guilty on that first charge, that was how the other 2 were going to go. So when they were in court this afternoon and the jury foreperson stood up on the unlawful confinement and said guilty, there was just this explosion of relief that Brian Gallagher told us about after.
I don't know how to describe it. It's nothing like anything I've ever experienced in my life. It was like something was released from my chest, and it was like the first thought I had was after they started to say guilty, 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 was the grandparents have heard us. The Creator has heard us, and they are happy and smiling, and I think at least at ease.
Dan, what happens next?
They'll be back in court here in December for sentencing arguments. Mr. Sutherland is going to be held in custody, and now the Gallaghers are going to be going home and trying to find out what to do next. They talk about wanting to continue their advocacy for missing and murdered women, and just sort of trying to process the fact that after 5 years, this particular part of the journey is over. Sam?
Dan, thanks so much for your work on this.
You're welcome.
The CBC's Dan Zakreski from Court of King's Bench in Saskatoon. More than 500 wildfires tore through parts of our province over this summer, forcing thousands of people to evacuate and destroying millions of dollars in property. It's prompted a lot of questions about the government response, and the province is hiring an independent firm to review the wildfire season. But as Jeremy Warren reports, the opposition says it doesn't go far enough.
The opposition NDP is demanding a public inquiry into how the government handled an unprecedented wildfire season and its devastating aftermath. 2 NDP MLAs from northern Saskatchewan pitched their public inquiry at a media event in Saskatoon on Thursday. The opposition says the province ignored warnings, then pleas from the front lines that more help was needed to prepare for and fight the fires.
53 fire departments, not 53 firefighters, 53 fire departments fighting the fire in Flin Flon on the club fire. And at the same time, the Wolf Fire had 11 firefighters, not fire departments, firefighters from their volunteer fire departments getting ready and setting up to try and defend Denair Beach.
The NDP wants an independent judge to run the inquiry to ensure there's no political interference. It would look at everything from how the government prepared for the wildfire season to how it handled thousands of evacuees.
A lot of the investigation will be based around, the services and the resources that were promised by this government to the people in northern Saskatchewan. There are still families and people that had went without the services throughout the time of the wildfires.
There are already 2 public reviews in the works. The provincial ombudsman is investigating the government's wildfire response, and the province itself is launching an independent review of the Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency's response and the mass evacuations. The NDP says its public inquiry would have a wider scope than the government's review.
Our focus is making sure that they get those answers. The Premier, his Minister, Tim McLeod, they can decide whether or not they want to give those answers, whether that be through a public inquiry. We're doing what we can to make sure that the people get the answers.
For its review, the province has now closed its request for bids process. It says it's hiring an independent firm. That review could begin within weeks and is expected to finish before next year's wildfire season. Jeremy Warren, CBC News, Saskatoon.
2 people have died in our province. Their deaths associated with COVID-19 infections. The details are in the SHA's latest situation report. That report covers data from September 7th to October 4th. It says the test positivity rate climbed more than 1% since the beginning of September. As of the 4th, there were 11 COVID-related outbreaks in high-risk facilities, including care homes. It's leaving some family members concerned about their loved ones.
I think they're kind of tight-lipped, and I haven't been asking questions. But yesterday afternoon, they decided to make it to one visiting at a time. So the workers and the visitors are wearing masks.
Older adults made up most COVID-related hospital cases. This season's COVID-19 and flu shots launched this week for free through the Saskatchewan Health Authority. You can also find it through participating pharmacies. Head to forflu.ca for more details. The Regina Anti-Poverty Ministry held a rally in Victoria Park on Friday, marking the UN Day for Eradication of Poverty. The group has several proposals that would help people living in poverty. They say public and political will is needed to make these changes. Potential options include raising the rates of income security benefits, implementing a living wage, better access to quality housing and childcare, or rent control.
Saskatchewan continues to be an outlier on this issue. 80% of Canadians live in jurisdictions with rent control legislation, but Saskatchewan continues to be without it. And because of that, we have the highest rental increases in the country over the course of the last few years, and it's led to incredible hardship as the market has been able to run wild.
Canada and Saskatchewan ratified the UN's Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights back in May of 1976. The Carney government is unveiling some new border measures that will be included in the upcoming budget. Ottawa plans to hire an additional 1,000 new border agents. It'll be more than quadruple the recruit stipend from $125 to $525 a week. And in recognition of their high-stress jobs, Ottawa will improve benefits and make early retirement easier. Ooh, some thick fog on Highway 1 west of Regina to start off Friday morning. Not great visibility as people commute to work. It looks like that should be gone for the weekend, but we have some gusty wind coming and later a chance of rain. Ethan will fill you in on what's to come in his forecast after the break. Stay with us. Cameras are rolling in Saskatchewan for the Indigenous love story called A Life Less Empty. It's a movie that's being filmed in Pheasant Rump Nakota Nation, and Darlapone stopped by to check out the set.
When we drove up to the set, a big brick house in the middle of nowhere, I was struck by how cool this is.
And action.
Ruben Martel is the writer and director behind A Life Less Empty. It's being filmed here at Pheasant Rump, Nakota Nation. The Indigenous love story is set during COVID-19 pandemic. It wasn't planned to be that way, but after global shutdowns, Martel revised the story to include a relatable experience from that time.
I was thinking, what would people talk like if you got two strangers in isolation and they had to isolate? And I just redid the story and here we are.
It's just a really beautiful, sweet story about people finding their true path in life.
Sarah Lise MacArthur is from Pheasant Rump Nakota Nation. She's a well-known actor, but on this, she's the producer and the reason it's being filmed here. Originally, she worried this would have to be filmed outside of Saskatchewan, but her dad volunteered his home in their home nation.
We're just excited that we get to tell the story where it was intended to be told in Saskatchewan.
Martel really wanted an Indigenous love story from a reserve.
You guys want to come talk to her?
Nathan Alexis is from Alexis Nakota Sioux Nation in Alberta. He plays Simon, a man on a journey who grapples with his past.
I think this is a really good story about how especially how a lot of Native people deal with, things like intergenerational trauma, and then how we have healthy coping mechanisms and unhealthy coping mechanisms.
Finding actors specifically in Saskatchewan was a challenge, so they used extras from Pheasant Rump. Mentors actually came in to help them learn how to act. Martel thinks people will really like this movie.
Yep.
He's hopeful more filmmakers will consider Saskatchewan as a production location.
We could have a lot larger crew, and it's just hoping that more directors and more writers want to bring stuff to Saskatchewan, because I feel like it's just so underutilized. And I kind of feel good about being here because it's not necessarily being a big fish in a small pond. It's about being a small fish and hoping the pond gets bigger. You know what I mean?
A Life Less Empty is scheduled for release next summer. Darla Panis, CBC News, Pheasant Rump, Nakota Nation.
A man from Saskatoon has been reunited with what he calls a long-lost friend, a stolen tuba. That is Michael Rainey reconnecting with his tuba nearly 6 years after it was stolen. He and his parents bought the silver-plated tuba in 2005 for $10,000, and it was one of two tubas stolen in 2019. It was recently found in an abandoned apartment by Saskatoon police. In the same condition it was seen last. Rainey says he remembers the day it happened.
I had them in my vehicle because I often would go to rehearsals. It was in February and it was so cold that night. It was so cold that my locks of my vehicle froze open. I didn't realize it. I hit the switch, but they did not lock. And when I got to my vehicle the next day, both the tubas were gone. I was absolutely dumbfounded. There was part of me that honestly had moved on and forgot about it, even though I always held out hope, and all of a sudden it was unbelievable.
He's reunited with his long-lost friend, Ethan. You were a band guy. Would you have been sad if your instrument disappeared?
I would have. Hey, those are worth a lot of money. I'm so glad that he was able to get that, and looks like a pretty nice tuba, too. So yeah. There we go. Props to him for getting that back. We have a pretty nice weekend ahead of us here in the province. Whether you're going for a walk outside, maybe you want to play a little music in the park with that tuba as well, but overall, things looking pretty good. But it was a windy Friday for us across the province. Let's take a look at just how windy things got. Gusts near or even over 60 kilometers an hour at times, especially in that southwest corner of the province. A gust actually over 60 recorded in Swift Current a little bit earlier Friday afternoon. That is where we saw some pretty warm temperatures as well. A lot of us getting back up into those kind of mid-teens. 14 looks to be the warmest temperature recorded in Coronach. All of us kind of sitting right around average for this time of year. But it's in that southwest corner where those winds are picking up, where we're also seeing a little bit of some moisture as well. Some rain, and the radar even picking up that changing a little bit over to snow at times. While Regina, we finally got some clearing after a few days of some cloud cover. But the rain is definitely going to be a theme over the next few days. We're watching a cold front moving through the north overnight Friday into Saturday, which could change over to snow early Saturday morning before that begins to move out. High pressure moves in for Saturday, so a lot of us will see sunny skies, but that'll depart as we get into early Sunday and bring the cloud cover back. And that'll also allow our next low pressure system to develop, and that'll be bringing some showers and possibly some wet snow, mostly to central parts of the province, especially along the northern grain belt. That will change over to snow, likely as it moves through the Parkland region and some of the higher elevations there, and maybe just skirting the Regina area as well. Generally, at most, maybe 5 to 10 millimeters through parts of northern Saskatchewan, especially in eastern sections of the Churchill region. For south and central, I think a lot of, again, if that rain falls, if it falls as rain, it's mostly going to be contained to that northern grain belt area. 15 to 20 millimeters, not out of the question there. But if it falls as snow, we could pick up a few centimeters. I don't think anything is really going to stick around, but 2 to 4 centimeters possible in especially western sections there. Wind also going to continue to be a factor here as we get into Saturday, as that cold front up north churns its way through. Another gusty day, and then we're watching that next low move in, and that could bring gusts up a little bit as we get into Sunday as well, but a little less than we see on Saturday. So for Regina, a nice Saturday if you can contend with the wind a little bit. Chances of rain for Sunday and Monday, maybe some wet snow Sunday night into Monday before the sunshine comes back, and look at that, above average for the end of the week. And for Saskatoon, pretty similar picture here. I think you're in the way of some more rain here than Regina, but not a whole lot. I think you're going to get the rain instead of the snow. Some cloud cover sticking around for Monday, and then the sun comes back out. The temperatures warm back up. You can see your normals for this time of year. Both daytime highs and overnight lows, Sam, will return above seasonal. So a bit of a blip, and then we'll get back to regularly scheduled fall right afterwards.
A forecast that is music to my ears.
Same here.
Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
Prince Andrew says he is giving up his royal title and other honors, including the Duke of York. He released a statement saying continued accusations about him distract from the work of the royal family. Prince Andrew said the decision came after discussions with his brother, King Charles. He'll remain a prince, a title he received from his mother, the late Queen Elizabeth. His ex-wife will be known as Sarah Ferguson, no longer the Duchess of York, but their daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, will keep their titles. Prince Andrew has faced years of criticism and scandal over his ties to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. He continues to deny accusations against him. Meet Anna Pozzi, believed to be Italy's oldest barista. At 100 years young, she does not plan to quit anytime soon. Each day before dawn, she gets to work fires up the espresso machine, something she's done for more than 8 decades. She began her career in hospitality as a teen, and then her and her late husband bought their own 65 years ago. We'll be back after the break. The Canadian Forces Snowbirds welcomed the appointment of a new honorary colonel at 15 Wing Moose Jaw on Friday. Chief Evan Tepotat of Kakawishtaha First Nation is now Honorary Colonel Tepotat of the 431 Air Demonstration Squadron. His family is smiling proudly after the ceremony. Honorary colonels are honorary and advisory, and Tepotat plans to do that, advise. He says he hopes to help the Air Force through reconciliation into what he calls reconciliation.
As a young guy, I was 5 years old when I saw those fighter jets over my First Nation. You know, if I could go back in time and tell my Musham Albert, who was with me that day, we pulled over on the side of the road, I could say one day we're going to help those people. I think that's a really cool thing, and it's just a beautiful day, and I'm honored to be the Honorary Colonel of Snowbirds.
This is not Honorary Colonel Tepotat's first time in military service. He joined the Canadian Armed Forces in 1998 and retired a captain in 2012 after a tour in Afghanistan the year before. He was also a teacher and principal at Kakawishtaha School and was elected Chief of the First Nation in 2017. And Ethan is back with one last look at your weather. Hello, weekend.
Hi, hello weekend, and hello mixed bag of a forecast for a lot of us. But for Saturday, I think we're looking at things being pretty nice. Let's take a look at where we're going to be overnight as we go Friday into Saturday. At least those temperatures, by and large, staying above the freezing mark for many of us. Again, we're watching for some showers continuing to move through the southwest part of the province. Really in the north where those showers are going to be concentrated, though, as they continue to move through, especially central and eastern sections of that region, changing to snow possibly already by 7 a.m. And as we get into the afternoon, that'll start to move its way eastward, but already starting to dissipate. Out west, we'll begin to see some clearing skies already as we get toward the noon hour and later into the afternoon. For south and central, though, cloud cover not a problem for us, except if you're in east central areas. We are still seeing some lingering showers there. But overall, a nice sunny day, temperatures getting back into the double digits. But a windy one for some of us, but at least we'll be able to enjoy some sunshine, Sam, before the clouds move back in and we get some rain for Sunday, and yes, maybe even some snow of our own.
Well, that's okay.
We can deal with
Ethan.
it. You're welcome.
That's it from us. For more news anytime, you can always head to our website or subscribe to our YouTube channel or go download the CBC News app on your cell phone. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend.